Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to do a Stanley Cup preview of the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Las Vegas Golden Knights in the championship matchup. Now, I'm going to try to run through different things, give you an idea in terms of what I think prediction-wise, and just some generic talk about this. So, here's the thing. You can hate on me if you want. When the playoffs started, these were the exact two teams from both sides I did not want to see in the final. I did not want to see Vegas make it from the West. I did not want to see Carolina make it from the East. Now, let me be clear. It's nothing against the players on the team for the most part. I mean, there's nothing that I have, in terms of anything issues or that I don't like any of the players. I'm fine with all the players. There's some that maybe I'm like, man, but for the most part, I don't have an issue with the players. I just don't care for these two teams. That's all it is. I mean, it sucks that even if one of Colorado or Montreal would have made it, been a lot of fun. And so the reason being is simple. And I think I probably speak for a lot of people, and it might be wrong in some cases, but I feel like the Vegas Golden Knights are like the actual villain of the league. Like, a lot of the stuff they do, it goes against the grain of how teams are ran in the NHL. And, to be honest, it's also not a bad thing. I don't like the Golden Knights. I never have liked them since they came in. Probably a lot of it has to do with the fact that, honestly, I'm a little bit jealous that they've had so much success. Um, let's not forget, they haven't even been around for a full decade yet. They've existed for 9 years, and out of those 9 years, they already have a Stanley Cup. They made it to like the conference finals like 4 times, I think, or 5 times, something ridiculous. They've only missed the playoffs once. A lot of players like playing there. Obviously, Nevada has no state tax. Apparently, for living, it's a great, arrangement. Obviously, they don't live on the strip, right? Like the actual city itself outside where a lot of players live, they like that lifestyle and it works for them. And so they have no problem attracting free agents. They've also been very aggressive, like, when their owner, in terms of Bill Foley, wanted them to compete and wanted them to win, they've been aggressive. And that is nothing, they haven't done anything illegal. It's just that a lot of the stuff they do is so cutthroat. But at the same time, they win. They do what I think all of us would love our franchises to do. They do a lot of things that are really unorthodox, and yet it doesn't matter because it gives them results. So we can all, hate on them all we want, but really they don't give a shit. Like they're doing what you need to do, which is make the playoffs, be competitive, and go after championships. And in that time frame, yeah, you take away the Florida teams who have built rosters a traditional way with savvy moves. And Vegas, when they came out with their team, obviously we know about the expansion draft. The rules were tilted in their favors, but to be honest, George McPhee just played, took advantage of the fact that GMs were a bunch of idiots. And here's the thing, there's a lot of general managers in the NHL that are probably not qualified to be GMs, honestly, because we see them make terrible decisions all the time. That makes you wonder, what are these guys thinking? Hello, Stan Bowman. But, I mean, George McPhee did fantastic working what he needed to do, gaming the system how he needed to make all these side deals and build a strong roster that the expansion team made the finals in his first year. Thank God for Ovechkin and the Capitals winning. But again, since then, they've made some moves. They've gotten Alex Pietrangelo. They traded for Jack Eichel. They traded for Mark Stone. They traded for Rasmus Anderson this year, signed Mitch Marner in that signing trade, Thomas Hertl. Like, the list goes on. Yeah, they haven't drafted too many guys, but they don't care. And it works for them. And that's why it's two ways to look at it. One, maybe other teams should look at it and do it this way too. And B, I don't care for the team. I never have. That's fine. That's my opinion. Obviously, there's a lot of people that feel that way. Like, besides people that live in Nevada or some of the younger kids that maybe have adapted and as they grow up, when you think about it, there's a time and a place when you're growing up, you end up cheering for a team, usually because that's the team that's popular. I know a lot of friends that were Patriots fans because they grew up with the Patriots being successful. Michael Jordan and the Bulls, same thing. Kobe and the Lakers, same thing. Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, there's a lot of these teams that they have this success, and when the young kids are young, they follow that team because they have that success. You can say the same for the Vegas Golden Knights. I, for the most part, even though I didn't like, the way they were doing it, just sucked that they're in on everybody and they pretty much get everybody. I still respected them that they're aggressive and they go and get guys. The time that I actually kind of lost, a lot of respect was what they did with Marc-Andre Fleury. Did him dirty, but again, they did what they needed to do. And, so many moves they've done are crazy. They got Noah Hannafin, and obviously that trade didn't work out too well for Calgary, but then they got Rasmus Anderson again from Calgary. So they paired up Anderson and Hannafin together. The Mitch Marner deal, that's looking great for them. Obviously, the John Tortorella thing with, firing Bruce Cassidy with like 8 games left in the season has looked like a brilliant move. You can't argue with what they did. It's a brilliant move. Them not letting Cassidy talk to other teams, all you can say it's a dick move, but they're in their right to do it. There is no rule that says that they have to. Yes, and everybody can say, oh, other teams should remember how they did this because, obviously they had to talk to Tortorella through Philly. They had no problem giving permission. But if I'm the Knights, why would I want Cassidy, a guy that's helped us win the Cup, go and coach our division rivals with the Kings or the Oilers? Like, why would you want that? So I kind of get it. As dirty as it is, like, they're not wrong in how they're doing it. Cassidy is still getting paid. He's still under contract. And then, of course, the biggest one, and this is, a lot of people feel a certain way about this, and some people don't, is the fact that they went out and got Carter Hart to be their goalie. And we know what everything that happened with that trial. And if you don't like what they did, I understand. But it's also interesting because out of those 5 players that are part of that trial, Carter Hart was easily, let's look at it from hockey terms, he was the best player out of those 5. The other 4 were never going to be star players. Carter Hart was trending towards possibly in Philly eventually being Team Canada's, if not the starting goalie, eventually being in the conversation at least. So Hart had a lot of pedigree in Philly that there's a chance that he might grow into something. And so is it a shock that Vegas took him? Not really, because that's just the way they do business. They do not give a shit what anybody outside of their organization thinks as long as they're going to win. And really, it's worked out. Jack Eichel is on the verge of, he's won 1 cup, possibly getting a second. Remember the whole thing with him and McDavid has, he's 0 for 2. Mitch Marner, the hate that this guy got in Toronto, and now just imagine in terms of winning the Conn Smythe, because as of right now, he is a favorite to win the Conn Smythe. How much of a FU is this to the Leafs? It's similar to Kadri when he did it. So is Mitch Marner the problem? Was it the organization? Was it the team? Was it the fans? Was it the city? It's probably a combination of everything, but you can clearly see, it just didn't work in Toronto, and it's working fantastic for this guy in Vegas. So there's going to be people that are pulling for the guy, and there are going to be people that are absolutely hating for the guy. Flames fans might hate Vegas because they're division rivals, but at the same time, part of a stipulation, and there's a lot of conditional trades that GM Craig Conroy made for the Flames over the last few years as they've decided to retool, rebuild, or whatever they're doing down there. And one of the conditions, which seemed kind of crazy at the time, but it's possible it comes to fruition, is if Vegas wins the Cup this year, in a couple of years, a second rounder that they got in the Anderson trade upgrades to a first. So that is another trade chip that Calgary can possibly get. So that's great for them. Tortorella could be, somebody that was actually hired as a gun for hire, and he's no guarantee to be the coach past this season, but you never know, right? Like, I will not be surprised if they win the Cup and they let Tortorella walk. Why? Because that's their way of doing business. I will not be surprised if, they might have had a handshake agreement with Anderson that eventually, when we do some cap gymnastics, which will probably include getting rid of Aiden Hill, who was instrumental in their Cup run a few years ago when they won the first time, they're not going to give a shit. They'll get rid of him. And maybe they don't even sign Anderson. Maybe they're like, whatever. We did what we needed. We got the Cup. Who cares? We'll move on. The whole fine and the crazy strip of the second round pick. If there's one team in the league that doesn't give a fuck about the draft picks, it's the Vegas Golden Knights. That was just going to be a trade asset for them to flip anyways. They could care less about developing players. They're going to go out and sign people anyways. And then on the other end, you got the Carolina Hurricanes. And the reason the Carolina Hurricanes are a solid team, they don't have any superstars on their team. They have a lot of good not even solid players. Sebastian Aho is probably their best player. You know, Nikolai Ehlers is good. They've tried to get stars, the whole Mikko Rantanen thing, and it didn't work out for them. So they build another way. Jacob Slavin is one of the best defensemen, if not the best defensive defenseman in the whole league. Freddie Anderson is a solid goalie, but he's not. You know, he's not top 10 goalie. He's not even probably top 15, but he's having a run for the ages. They have good depth throughout their lineup, similar to Vegas, and so. And personally, I love Rod Brind'Amour. He used to be one of my favorite players on Philly back in the day. And even when he was on Carolina, when he was, the captain, they won the cup, I was happy for him. So he's a great coach. I don't care for the team. I know they've been around for a long time. I just don't care. They're mad to me. However, with that being said, this should be a good finals matchup because both teams are really deep, really skilled. Yes, Vegas has more higher end talent. Carolina will have home ice advantage. This would be a shock either way. This is, when you look at that, this is a complete toss-up in terms of who's going to win this series. Carolina has just gone bonkers rushing through the Eastern Conference. Like, they've just, swept Ottawa, swept Philly, took Montreal out in 5. Yes, Vegas had to face more upcoming teams than Anaheim and Utah, but they took care of business when it mattered in Game 6s on both occasions, and they destroyed Colorado. And even that, like, how is the series going to play out? I just think the way these teams have been playing, we're looking at a classic series that could possibly go 7 games. I would be absolutely floored if this ends in 5 games or less. Like, I just think the way, unless injuries pile up or something crazy happens in the first game or two, I think we're in for a treat in terms of actual hockey, regardless of who wins. Like, I don't give a shit who wins the cup, honestly. Like, I don't like either team. I don't care for either team. I've already given my reasons for that. But in terms of if you're a hockey fan, there will be good hockey. It's hard to predict, and just because Carolina has home ice, like, I want to pick them, but I just feel like somehow Vegas, being the villains that they are going to come out on top and win another freaking cup. So, unfortunately, I'm going to pick Vegas in 7. Like, this is going to be a long series. I would be absolutely shocked if it goes short. Both teams have played really well when it matters. Both teams have a lot of veteran talent. Yes, Vegas has been here before and Carolina hasn't, but Carolina has made it to the conference finals many times, so they finally got over the hump this year. And I just think both coaches are also very good in terms of what they're doing. Rod Brind'Amour is a great X's and O's guys, and Tortorella knows he's coaching a veteran team, and he's kind of taking a step back and just let things play out the way they need to. So based on that, I got Vegas getting this in 7 games. Catch you guys later. Talk to you later. Peace.